Warning: these videos are designed for HVAC professionals only. Please do not attempt this on your own stuff.
Welcome to TEC Tube. I'm Dave Herman with Tech Support, and we're going to be going over gas pressure on furnaces today. First furnace we're going to be looking at is a two-stage unit. Setting up the gas pressure and checking it on two-stage units is going to be a little bit different than a single stage. We'll be going over this one first, and then we'll review the single stage, which will be a little bit simpler. Just a different process as far as this one goes, because we're going to have the two stages to check, first and second, lower and higher. So we have to make sure it's in each stage as we set the gas pressure on the unit before we start making our adjustments. So we're going to need our manometer and our typical connections on there with our hosing and our fitting. This is going to be an old style valve. We're also going to review the new style valves that are out now, but this furnace comes equipped with the old style. So we'll be hooking up to that. So the first thing we're going to do is get our manometer. We're going to get that hooked up. We have our hose. We're going to have our fitting to put into the valve, to screw into the valve. And we're going to get the unit first, remove the outlet screw so we can actually pick up our pressure that we are sending out to the burner assembly itself. I've got my wrench. I'm going to go into, it's going to be on the side of the valve on this unit. Sometimes they may be on the bottom side, you know, but on this one it's on the side. Usually they are on the side. So I'm going to get in there. I'm going to remove that. With this one I'm able to get in easy enough with just a simple ratchet wrench. You could use a standard Allen wrench, whatever is going to work for you or whatever you have handy. So I'm going to get in there. I'm going to remove that screw. I'm going to place that off to the side on top of the furnace. I don't want to lose that, because if we lose that, then we're going to have a problem when we want to fire this furnace back up. So I've got my brass fitting, which we're going to connect our hose to. That's going to run to our manometer. And make sure that fitting is snug. Make sure my hose is on there tight. We don't want that to come loose once we do start up the unit. And I want to make my connection on my manometer. Different kinds of manometers. So most of them do the exact same thing. It just depends on which type you have. But we are going to be measuring our gas pressure in inches of water column. So this has multiple functions. Other manometers have a single function. So it'll just depend on the unit you have. Next thing I'm going to do, because it's a two-stage, I'm going to remove our control panel door. Now I could get into this unit and get into our thermostat terminal strip. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go right to that to run our different levels of gas fire on this furnace. I'm going to run my low pressure first, and then I'm going to run our high. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a jumper and jump out those speeds, so we actually know we're going to be in that fire. There's going to be no question which one we're in. We're going to know where we're at when we're running it. So I'm going to get in there and get that set. So I'm going to get on our power, our R, and I'm going to get to my W1, which is my first stage heat. And that's going to kick us on. I'm going to make sure my manometer is turned on. And we are zeroed out. Double check my hose. Make sure my hose and fitting are tight. I'm going to wait for the unit to fire and see what my gas pressure is at. The gas pressure on this unit on my low firing rate is going to be 1.4 to 1.8. A normal range is usually 1.5, but furnaces generally are going to have a range on their rate of fire, whatever that may be. This furnace, once again, low is 1.4 to 1.8. The high is going to be 3.2 to 3.8. So right now we're showing 1.5, 1.58, which is essentially 1.5. So if we did want to make an adjustment on this, we're okay where we're set with our gas pressure. If you look closer at the valve itself, we have two brass screws on here. One is marked low, the other marked high. Those screws are what we're going to remove. Those are our caps. And beyond that cap is going to be the set screw inside to actually make the adjustment on the valve. So that's what we'll do next. We're going to remove that brass cap, and then we're going to get inside there, and then we're going to adjust that gas pressure, and we'll be able to see on the manometer where that gas pressure adjusts to as we turn our set screw. So we're going to remove that set screw for our low fire option. So we're going to pull that brass screw out. Loosen up. Once again, set that off to the side on top here so we don't lose it. And inside, once again, there's a set screw. We're going to get on that set screw, and we're going to turn that clockwise to increase our pressure, counterclockwise to decrease the pressure. And as you turn that, you can see that gas pressure moving. Right now I'm turning it counterclockwise, and you can see that gas pressure immediately drop and follow as I turn that set screw. It's only a slight movement to get a reaction from the manometer to get our pressure changed. So slight turn counterclockwise, we're already down to 1.3. As I turn back clockwise, we're already at 1.5. So it doesn't take a whole lot to actually get that gas pressure to change. So you just turn it slightly and watch it react. It's pretty quick reaction. It doesn't take a lot for that to change. So that's the adjustment on our low. So we're good. Once again, you want to be right at about 1.5 on your low fire on a two-stage furnace. That's pretty much, the standard, the norm. But then again, you have your range that this furnace is allowed to operate by spec. This particular furnace, we're doing 1.4 and 1.8. You have to be somewhere in that range. So the next thing we would do is we'd go to our high fire and make the adjustments there, or just to check to see where we're at. So what I'm gonna do, I'm get my cap and screw that back in. Make sure that is snug. Okay, while I'm here, I'm just gonna pull out my cap for my high. So now that I have my set screw out, I'm ready to go ahead and make my adjustments on my high fire, but I have to make sure that furnace is in high fire first. So at the board, right now we're jumped to running low fire only. I'm gonna take another jumper and I'm gonna run it from my W1 to W2, so we have high fire operation. It has to see W1 and W2. If it doesn't see the W1, we're not going to get the high fire operation. So I put a jumper on from W1 to W2, and we'll have our high fire operation. Okay, so we hear our furnace jump up to our high fire, our second stage. And now I'm checking my pressure, and furnace itself is showing we're at 3.64, so essentially 3.6, 3.59. So it's slightly high above our 3.5, but as far as range goes for the furnace, it's fine. We're at 3.2 to 3.8, our operating range on this unit. So we are within range, but once again, just as far as our adjustment goes, we use our set screw. With the screwdriver, we get in on the screw and we turn clockwise to increase that gas pressure if we wanted to go up. There we are with just a slight turn. We're already at 3.7. Now if I want to back it off, counterclockwise, a slight turn, we're at 3.5. 3.51 to be exact, essentially 3.5. So once again, the turns are real slight once you're on the set screw. It doesn't take a lot of adjustment, but every valve is going to be a little bit different. Some you might have to turn a little bit more to get a reaction. Some you might actually turn a little bit less. This one's reacting pretty quick. So it all depends on the valve. There may be a little bit of a difference there. But that's essentially it on your two-stage valve. So always remember, you want to make sure you're in the right stage of fire when you're adjusting that gas pressure. And you want to make sure you're setting within the parameters that that furnace allows. Once again, normal range or normal setting would be 1.5 for low, 3.5 for high. But then there are operating ranges that will generally be listed on the furnace itself. On its nameplate, it'll have all the furnace information and spec, and the gas pressure will be on there also. But this furnace was listed at that, so I know that going into it, so I can make my adjustments as needed from there. I got everything removed as far as our manometer. I've got the screw back in the side of the valve. Once this gets fired up, I want to confirm that we don't have any gas leaks to make sure we're going to operate normally and safely. This valve itself is an older style valve. It's still current. The valves are still out there. But there is a new style valve that is being used where we're going to check a little bit differently. As far as checking whether it be our inlet or our outlet, this new valve doesn't have a screw on the sides to be checking our inlet and outlet. We're going to be looking at ports that they're given on the top towards the in and towards the outlet. And they are tagged on the valve itself. That's going to be a little bit different in checking the gas pressure than on the old valve. And this is what we're starting to see on furnaces now. So basically what you're going to do with that, setting the pressure hasn't changed. We still have our high and low for our stages, the set screw, all of that remains exactly the same. Just tying in with our manometer is where the difference is going to be. With that, you're going to get a kit or some type of hose. There's a kit available for this that you can use, that you can pick up, that is just an adapter with a stiffer type hose to get in over the testing port. And also a 3/32 Allen key, which is going to release that screw. So instead of pulling that end screw out like we had to do, I'm just going to go right into the top of that screw in that port. I'm going to loosen that screw one full turn. I don't need to remove that screw. You want to be careful if you do, because it's possible to lose that screw because it's very small, and then you have a valve that's not going to be useful. So I'm going to loosen that one full turn. I'm going to slide that stiffer hose over it. I'm going to slide my adapter onto it. And from there, I'm going to get my manometer hose. I'm going to slide that over the other end of the adapter. And then I'm going to go through with the process like we just went over, the exact same way. So the only difference is going to be my actual connection for my manometer on my outlet port that they give on the top of the valve. And once again, those are tagged. On the left side of this valve here, you could see as the inlet pressure, and right up in the top center of the outlet. So those are tagged on the valves themselves. We just went over the two-stage furnaces and setting the gas pressure. Now we're just going to take a quick look at the single stage. The setup is going to be the same as far as hooking up the manometer. The only difference is we're going to have one set point for the set screw on the single stage. We have a single stage fire, so we don't have a low fire or high fire. We just have single fire. So as far as our hookup on our old style valve, we're going to be going into the back side of this, pulling out our pressure tap screw, pulling it out and screwing in our fitting, brass fitting, and connecting over to our manometer hose. And then on the newer style valve, very similar to the other one, where we're just going to have our pressure port on top. Our 3/32 Allen key is going to turn that screw one full turn, and then we're going to slide our hose over that, and we're going to read our pressure that way. So the single stage, very similar to the two-stage unit, except we're only going to have one set point on it. Thanks for watching. I'm Dave Herman with TEC Tube. Keep an eye out for our video on setting gas pressure on the modulating gas furnaces.